All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast. Here with your host today, Richard Fu from richardfu.com. And today, guys, I'm excited about bringing a fresher breath air. Whoa, that was, even I can't even say what I'm saying. A breath of fresh air in terms of the music scene here. His name is Wordplay TJay. He's a hip hop artist. He's a vocalist. He's a producer of music. And what I love the most about learning what TJay does is he's building music that incorporates like positivity, that incorporates positive thoughts and personal growth to help people break out of the darkness that people fall into the depression, the difficult situations, the challenges, and really, as TJay is going to put it, the underdog, the guy who's struggling, the man, the woman who feels like they're battling, to keep them going, to keep them motivated. And that excites me the most, because so often now in the world that we're living in, all the music's all about, sleeping with women, cars, money, whatever it is, the awesome lifestyle. But we need more positivity in this world and positive examples. And so I'm so pleased and honored to actually welcome Mr. Wordplay TJay on the show. TJay, welcome on the show, bro.
I think we need a round of applause, a clap track, because that was an awesome intro. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on here today.
Man, we're just excited to bring you on and share your word out there in the world, man. And so, TJay, man, for the people who haven't heard about you and your work, could you share a bit more about how you help people and I guess how you actually started on this journey, brother?
Yeah. So my name is Wordplay TJay, Wordplay TJay, and I make music for the Underdog. What that means is, like Richard said, I make music for all those underdogs out there that have dealt with depression, dealt with anxiety, dealt with just kind of trying to punch up in the world and change their lives. Mm-hmm. And everybody that feels kind of downtrodden like that usually needs a pick me up. And so I release positive music that say, give stories about what I've gone through and what I'm going through, to be able to be motivated. And then I put that in song form, release it out every month. And then hopefully people can then gravitate towards that music and share it with somebody else who might need it, and just help out other underdogs on the way. So.
Oh, man, that's amazing. And, man, I know this, TJay. I know you just weren't born coming out singing and popping them tunes and dropping them beats, right? Tell us, really, I want to understand, because like I told you, man, I'm the most uncreative guy there probably is, right? I need structure, I need logic and all of this. But tell me, how did you get into realizing that, this is what you wanted to do, man, to really be like a musician and share your message through music?
So ironically, I am very analytical. I like numbers. My mom's a math professor. But my dad's side is more musical and logical. I'm sorry, more creative. Musical and creative than the rest of my family. So on one side of the family, I have a bunch of teachers, and the other side of the family, I have a bunch of creatives. And I just kind of mixed and mingled with them both. And so I handle the business side, which is very logical. And then I do the creative stuff, which is producing and making great music. I started off as just an artist. So visual arts was all I did. Now I kind of incorporate that into the cover artwork and the graphic design and making music videos. But that transformed when I lost one of my grandparents and I went through depression kind of seriously. So in middle school, I finally realized that story that people go through where there's bullies. And somebody is ridiculing you for who you are, and if you're smart and intelligent, and I was a smart, intelligent guy, people would not like that, because the teachers gave me attention, and they felt like they needed the attention, they wanted the attention, which now, going through school and knowing how teaching works. They should have gotten that attention. So I should have been left alone to do my own thing. But at the same time, I was bullied because of who I am. And so eventually I got to the point to where I felt confident enough to sing in class. And so
Whoa.
I started singing in class, which
Mm.
I don't know how I built that up, because I was the guy that was like head down, like
In your
counting the floor
books.
tiles,
Oh, yeah.
you know. And so eventually I got up the nerve to sing in class. And then I got the nerve up to do poetry
Mhm.
and rap. And then I started rapping more and throughout high school. And finally in high school, I had a major breakthrough
Mhm.
where I had been rapping and producing for a while.
Mhm.
And one of my songs got featured on the radio back
Yeah.
home in Little Rock, Arkansas, here in the United States. And I got a chance to meet Russell Simmons the next month.
Wow, huge, man.
Like, I met him, I presented my demo,
Mhm.
and he had to turn me down
Mhm.
because I didn't have copyright on my stuff. And I vowed after that to
Mhm.
like never not know what music, what the business was behind my music
Mhm.
uh, was. And so that kind of started the storm of me learning music business, creating music that was for people like me,
Mhm.
and then moving on to the next level. So
Mhm.
that's how I got to where I am today.
Wow, man. And, I'm not sure if you can hear that. There's like a siren going off in the background here. And it's like, that's because that's how much fire is inside this guy, guys. I mean, he's burning that much. And I love your story, dude. It's like, it's so important because, I mean, for you, and this is a question I want to ask here, TJ, is like, really like you get into rap, you get into hip hop, and, you see the hits. The hits are all about, well, I'll call it rubbish, right?
Yeah.
That is not conducive. It's just something that you listen to just because it's catchy, right? But
Yeah.
what's the thing that drives you from not wanting to put out something that's gonna make it to the charts, right? And sticking to believing that and following through with you just creating the music that you think the world actually needs, and that that you've gone through, and the journey that you've gone through. Talk us through like what keeps you burning through that, man.
So I think the most important part of that was sort of like my upbringing.
Mm.
Like, I was raised uh, in a Christian household.
Mm.
And so I wanted to make music, but I also wanted to make music that, that my grandparents could listen to as well. And my grandparents were fans of me. My grandfather, who listened to my music the most, is now deceased, but my grandmother still listens to my music to this day. And they wouldn't listen to any music that had any curse words in it or anything like that. So I want to make music for my family and the fans and other people. And I was
Mm.
like, well, everybody is already making that other type of music.
Mm.
And the only other person that's making music that makes music like I do, sort of, is like Will Smith. You know? And I was like, well, Will Smith did pretty well at it. He was the first hip hop artist to get a Grammy, so why not follow in those footsteps? And so I used the road not traveled
Mhm.
to make it happen.
Dude, man, and I love that because I love Will Smith too, man. I love how like I have so many quotes of his around me that just float around all the time, and I was like, man, Will Smith's like the bomb, right? And
He's
I
incredible.
oh, dude, man, like getting jiggy with it. I'm like, whoa, right? And just his work is amazing, and I want to tap in here more with your work here, TJ. I mean, so
Hmm.
is this a challenge that you're putting yourself out to produce a song every month? And talk us through that production, right? Like, what does that actually look like? Because I remember recently, I'm like, oh, I thought the singer did everything, right? Wrote the lyrics,
Yeah.
sang the song, produced the music, and I'm like, man, how hard is it to like think about like the music and the beats that's supposed to go behind the words? And so, talk us through that process with yourself. And is it something that you do by yourself? And to get it done in a month, how is that possible, dude?
So traditionally,
Mm-hmm.
no song in the traditional music industry is made that way,
Mm-hmm.
with a singular person behind the music, the writing, and the distribution of the song.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that just does not happen. That's only because like the best music comes from a collaborative process. And so I just think of it this way, like it took a lot of practice for me to get to where I am. So I practiced day after day after day while I was in grade school to make beats. And so I held that and I got those, 10,000 hours, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's 10,000 hours per se, but it's a lot of hours that I put into it. Same thing with writing. Put that amount of creativity into it. And then I learned the business side, and I learned, well, if I produce the music, if I write the music, if I distribute the music myself independently, then I don't have to split the money with anybody. And so my idea was to create this legacy where even if I collaborated with somebody on a song or anything like that, I wanted to build a legacy where I was the one-man band and I created the song from start to finish. The process now starts with the beat. I'll sit down at my beat machine and my keyboard, and I'll just go through a bunch of sounds. And then I'll find something that kind of in my gut feels like will make me kind of sway back and forth, nod my head, and like, just really get jamming. And once I find that sound, I'll play some other sounds on top of it. And then the kicker comes the rhythm section where I add the drums and I add like some really heavy kicks and some African drums here and there, and some cymbals and all the great percussion stuff.
Yep.
And so I add that in, I'll get grooving, and then I start this process where like I write on paper for the most part, but I start a song always in my head. And it always starts with like the hook. And so I'll mumble the hook, and then
what do you mean like by the hook? Is that like the chorus part or something, or
right, the chorus, the catchy part. And I'll go by and I'll be mumbling the chorus to myself. So like my latest chorus is a song called New Day, and I was like, well, get up, get out, this is a new day, get up, get out, sparking a new wave. And then I just kind of come up with the chorus in my head, and then that's what I need to finish the beat. And so I'll finish the beat around that chorus. I'll export the beat, put it into another program, and then that's where I'll record all my vocals. And then I'll sit down. I'll usually record the hook first, and then I'll write verses around the hook that have a common theme and just a melody and a cadence. And I'll do all the vocal parts. I'll mix it. That's another part of me. Like I'm the engineer that mixes everything down, and I'm the producer that kind of arranges everything, all the instruments and things of that nature. And then I'll master it, which is done out of house now through this website, this really dope website. Thank you, internet. It's called Lander. And so I'll put it through Lander, and I'll get out a pretty great master. And I'll give it to the people and let them decide from there.
And from what I understand, TJay, I mean, your form of distribution, and thank you to the internet again, is predominantly, is it mainly through SoundCloud mostly?
So SoundCloud is just one of the hosting sites that I use, but DistroKid, which is pretty innovative now, is only because like it's one of the only distribution sites that runs totally on AI, which is really, really dope and forward thinking. And so I can't remember the guy who created it, but I put everything through DistroKid, and it goes out to the distribution companies like iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud. I'll upload myself, and YouTube I'll upload myself. And from there, like I said, I let the world decide. The people that want it, will come and they'll listen to it and they'll share it with somebody, and I hope that they share more of it. But the people that don't want it, I'm not here to necessarily entertain them. If I wanted to do that, I would make music just like what's on the radio, and I don't want to do that. So I want the people that really care about the music, that really get something from it, to become like my 1,000 fans, my people that I care about and care for. And so once they have it and they do whatever they want to, I follow up consistently every month to deliver a new song to them. And I think it'll grow on its own that way.
Nice, man. Nice. And out of curiosity, how long have you been doing this, new song per month kind of thing, or was it just started?
I started experimenting with it a couple years ago. So, a few years ago, actually. It started in 2014.
Whoa.
When I had my album out, The Cycle, and I started like leaking a song every month. And I was like, I kind of like this process. But it didn't become a formal part of my program and my branding until like 7 months ago. So for the last 7 months, I've been consecutively popping out a new song since last summer.
Oh man, I love that, man. And I just want to highlight here that this is all a discipline, right? It's all a discipline. And just like business, just like in life, if you want anything, you got to be disciplined and you got to work for it. And, I love the commitment here, man. And the next question I have for you, TJ, is like, if you're pumping out a song every month, right? How do you stay creative, right? How do you stay creative so that you're not pumping out a song that talks about the same thing over and over again? And that's one of the things I love to understand, because when TJ, I don't know if you know, man, I used to do a daily video, right? And I'm like, how do I keep pumping out daily videos that don't repeat the same thing, right? And I'm not sure if you ever go through that process too, where you're like, oh man, I get this awesome song, but it's the same. It's kind of talking about the same thing as I talked about in another song. Yeah. I mean, what do you do to continue to create new things that I think are different month to month?
It's tough, especially when I have the same goal to reach the underdog. So a lot of it's like higher thinking, positive, self-actualization type stuff. But I just, the reason why they call me Wordplay TJay is because I have an extensive vocabulary. And so
that was going to be my next question, man. Are you like reading a thesaurus like every day or something? Because like my vocab sucks, right? And so, go on, Matt, go on.
Funny enough, as a kid, that's what I did for fun. Wow. We didn't have the internet when I was like really little. So in my grandparents' house, we would like look up stuff in the encyclopedia. And that's what I spent a lot of my time doing. I was one of those kids. But regardless, like I use my vocabulary to make sure that at least if I'm saying the same thing, I'm saying it in a new way, a new informative way. But I think I let the music lead the way to come up with new inventive ideas. And so I let the inspiration take control of my writing. And like, so I don't write anything down kind of forcefully. I don't create choruses forcefully or anything like that. I just like say whatever is on my mind first, and then I'll go back and edit it if need be. So that's how I keep it creative, is that you let inspiration bubble up. And then even if you say the same thing, just say it in a different way. Don't worry about it.
And I want to highlight something here, TJ, that you brought up, and some people might have missed that, is that it's like you say that you let the creativity flow out and that it just bubbles up and it just comes out and you don't stop it. And this is what I think a lot of people like myself or other people who are analytical and logical in that sense, it's like I would write a blog post and then I would go back and literally after I write the title, I go back and I edit the title again, right? This is not good enough. This is not good enough. But what you're saying, and this is what I've heard so often, and I've tried to apply it more and more whenever I write and do anything creative, is you just let it all out. And then I love it that, you have that discipline, right? To let it all out and then come back and edit it later. And for someone who's struggling to do that, what would you say to them if they're like, you know, they're the type of person like me, is like going back and trying to edit at that same time, like, they hit that note high enough, right? In the middle of your head. What would you say to yourself or to someone who's struggling like that?
I think one philosophy is to know that you're good enough, for one. Like, no matter what level you think you are, what level other people think you are, like, no matter how self-conscious you may be about certain things, like, you're good enough to make something work. You just have to be consistent at it and be disciplined about it and do it every day. You're good enough to make whatever you do or whatever your natural gift is and give it to the world. You're good enough to do that consistently. And whenever you write that title and you want to go back and edit it, just remember, I'm good enough. Maybe I can say this in a more concise way, but I'm still good enough. So I don't have to change what I do for people to be attracted to me. I just have to put out good energy. The other part would be like, once you know that you're good enough, or once you feel that you're good enough, that nobody else knows the future, whether or not you'll succeed or not. Like, nobody knows that. Nobody can predict it. Nobody can tell you it. Like, I say it all the time. Like, people think they know the future and what will happen to somebody, and they also think they remember the past, and they don't know either one of them. So you know what's presently in front of you. So focus on that. Focus, like, once you know you're good enough, then you focus on the present and you just execute over and over and over again.
Wow, man. TJ, man, I've been learning so much about this creative process that you're going through, man. I love it. And it's opened up my eyes into this whole new world, whole new industry. And, you know, it pains me, man, that we got to start wrapping up the show here. And
it's okay.
You know, it's okay. It's all good, man.
I feel like I'll be back.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And so I want to go into our quick fire question round here at TJ. And, you know, the first question I have is my favorite question of all time, is our time travel moment. It's where if you could go back to any moment in your life, TJ, and look at little TJ and give him one piece of advice you know today, when would you go back to and what would you tell him?
So I wouldn't go, that far back into time. I would go to TJ from 2010 when I first put out my first single. And I would say to him, hey, dude, just put out a single every month. Just do what you did on this one song and just keep doing that for every month for a year. Put out good work. Make sure it's good work. Like, have that discipline enough to put out your best foot forward and then do it consistently. Don't worry about everything else. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about, like, if people are going to hear it or not, because people will be attracted to you because you're putting out that great energy. And that's what I would tell myself. Be more patient, basically.
Yeah. Love it, man. Great advice. Great advice. Next question I have for you here, TJ, is I'm sure you've received a lot of amazing advice in your lifetime. And I want to ask, like, what's the best piece of advice you ever got given and that keeps coming up for you time and time again?
Pretty similar to what I just said. Gary Vaynerchuk first answered one of my questions on Twitter a few years, like a year or two back, for Ask Gary V when he started that. And his answer was simply, be more patient. And the same thing happened when I met Russell Simmons, and he turned my demo down and he was like, keep going. It essentially boils down to the same thing. You have to be patient. Like, you don't know the future. The past doesn't really matter anymore. So just keep making work and be patient.
Love it, man. Love it. And I think in the world that we live in, there's not enough patience. Right? There
No,
never is enough patience.
no,
And
no.
so
I'm
it's
still working on it.
oh man, I think we're all working on it every day, right, at some point or some level. And
Yeah.
so, this leads into the next question here, TJ. I mean, like, I know aside from the thesaurus, right, which is your favorite book of all time, uh, what, if there was one book that was a total must read, right, for all the
Yeah.
people listening here, watching here, what would it be, mate?
Oh gosh, I read a lot of books, dude. Fiction, nonfiction, doesn't matter really.
Whatever taught you a great lesson, and most people that you'd say you have to read this book.
I think this guy named David Passmore wrote a book about, I think, how to make it in the music business or how to make it in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had another chance to kind of give anything to anybody that was making music, or even if you're just making stuff in general,
Mm-hmm.
it has a lot of lessons in there that are a little bit more general for anybody that's creative to be able to read that book. So David Passmore, I think it's How to Make It in the Music Industry.
Awesome, man. We'll add that to the show notes. And man, TJ, this has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, man, just to share your wisdom and your journey, man. And I as we're wrapping up here, is there anything else you wanted to add that we didn't get a chance to cover here on the show?
Just look for me out there on the web, please. Wordplaytjay.com. That's wordplaytjay.com. Or you can find me on SoundCloud, Wordplay TJay. And it's 2 words, Wordplay, and then TJay. Search it in Google, look it up. I'm all over the place. And just find me, find the inspiring music that I make, listen to it, and then share it to somebody else. That's all I got.
Awesome, man. Awesome. We'll add the links in the show notes as well. So, man, brother, man, thank you so much for being on the show here, man. It's been an honor learning more about your journey and really sharing your mission here with all the people listening here.
Great. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Man.
I can't wait to be back.
We'll get that organized, man. And so, guys, this wraps up another episode here of the Forge Your Life podcast here with the master of words, Wordplay TJay. And I know this. I know TJ doesn't want this to be a secret. I don't want this to be secret. This message must go out there because, there needs to be more positivity in not just what we read, not just what we see, but what we hear in today's world as well. And we need to get that out there. And so please rate the show on iTunes so that we can get TJ's word out there and my word and all the other guests who have been here on the show out there as well. And so we really appreciate that if you can do that. Of course, you can head on over to richardfu.com to grab all the show notes and resources that TJ has shared here. And of course, guys, go out there, go live with love and go smash it. And I'll see you again on the next one.